the minority whip has nominated to the finance committee. If he is true to his word, can I challenge Mr. Speaker to exercise his powers under Standing Order number 176 to de-whip those members?
Junet.
Mr. Speaker, you see, we are now on the plenary of the House. We are not in a finance committee. And the decision of the bill will be made on the floor of this House, not in the committee. But I know where Honorable Kamket is coming from. I know when you collect cattle, you share with everyone. But now this is different, Mr. Speaker. We are in a different scenario. Now we are in the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. We are not dealing with cattle. But having said, Mr. Speaker, you know, when you are interrupted like this, you lose your thought process, Mr. Speaker. But let me come back to what I was saying. Mr. Speaker, this bill, I can see the committee in their own wisdom have proposed certain changes. That's a step in the right direction, but that's not enough. That is not enough. Because there are more other things that we need to deal with, and we need to bring amendment on them or shoot down the bill in its entirety, in totality. Mr. Speaker, let us be sensitive to the people of Kenya. Now I've lost my time. I can see I'm being told your time is up. Let us be sensitive to the people of Kenya. Because it is the ordinary person who's paying for what we are processing here. It's not us, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if we are going to make life difficult, for example, Mr. Speaker, last year we passed a finance bill here, which is a Finance Act of 2023. How much money have we collected using that? We did not reach our targets. Now that is a proof that higher taxation does not yield to higher revenues, Mr. Speaker. Lower taxation yields to higher revenues. If you make the taxation process easy and simple, and which everyone wants to pay, that is when you will collect money. But when you tax it highly, people will look for ways to evade it, people will look for ways to not to pay it, and that is the norm. It is not all over the world. It is not rocket science. So let us...
Is up, Didymus. Your time is up, Junet. Didymus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to add my voice on this very important bill, the Finance Bill 2024. Honorable Speaker, in making a decision as to whether I support or oppose, I am guided by three things. First, that is very important, and the country must understand this, Honorable Speaker. There is no country across the world that has developed without the support of the local manufacturers. We have been lamenting for very many years, Honorable Speaker, that Kenya as a country is one-way traffic. We are only importing. Mr. Speaker, it is a fact that we have manufacturers who have set up their factories in our country. They have just employed less than 5 people, and what these manufacturers do, they just import finished products to distribute, yet they get all the support from the government of Kenya and from the taxpayers, Honorable Speaker. The second thing that is very important, Honorable Speaker, is that the problem that this country is facing, and it is a time bomb, Honorable Speaker, is lack of employment for the surging young population of this country. The government alone cannot absorb millions of Kenyans who are job seekers. The private sector plays a pivotal role in ensuring that we have employment opportunities so that Kenyans can have the bargaining and the purchasing power to put food on the table, Honorable Speaker. So the private sector should be supported. I heard the leader of minority speak about that this country is only favoring a few individuals who are trading in cement, who are trading in steel. Honorable Speaker, I want to ask and to urge the leader of minority, Honorable Pio and I, who is my very good friend, that he has an opportunity to set up a steel factory in this country. He has an opportunity to set up a cement manufacturing factory in this country. He has an opportunity, Honorable Speaker. I know that prior to the last general elections, they had so many meetings with the business community of Dubai, business community of Qatar,
And Honorable Opio and I, you have got every reason to set up a factory, run it the way you want. You can even say that for you to buy from this factory, you must be wearing a black suit. Nobody will take you to court, Honorable Speaker. The third thing that is very important that made me to support this bill, Honorable Speaker, is because when those proposals were first being debated across the media houses in this country, there are a number of things that came out, and those things were punitive to the Kenyans, Honorable Speaker. These include the tax on motor vehicle, the tax on diapers, sanitary towels, taxes on motorcycles, Honorable Speaker. But we have since engaged, and I have had a robust discussion with the Chair of Finance and Economic Planning. He has assured me that the content of his report will finally make it to the areas that are going to be amended by this House, Honorable Speaker. I have also alive to the fact that as a Member of Parliament for Kimilili, I have the powers to amend this bill. I have the powers to suggest amendments, including the title of the bill, and everywhere that I feel we should change this bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill, read together with the report, and of course also annexed on that level with my intelligence of proposing amendments to make it better, I am convinced that we are going to protect the local manufacturers. Kenya as a country, Honorable Speaker, we have been lagging behind. That even we import toothpicks, something that is made with a very low technology. That we have been importing diapers, something that even Junet Mohammed can set up a diaper manufacturing farm in Migori, Honorable Speaker. So what we are simply saying, we are saying that the rich people of this country, the very many associations that can access funding from banks in this country, that this bill is giving them an opportunity to become entrepreneurs so that they can set up factories that will be able to produce things that have been zero-rated, and they will have a competitive edge against those manufacturers who have been importing things in this country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we have had a discussion with the ladies of this country. I have had a discussion with the girls and the women from my constituency. They have raised concern about the hygiene of diapers that are imported from China. It is from this basis, Honorable Speaker, that we persuaded the Chair of Finance and Economic Planning to persuade this committee that they should consider putting an eco-levy on sanitary towels that are imported from this country while zero-rating the locally manufactured one, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, by passage of this bill, I am convinced, I am energized to look for money and set up a factory in Kimilili, a factory that will produce sanitary towels, a factory that will produce diapers, a factory that will produce toothpicks, Honorable Speaker, a factory that will produce tires, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I have listened to the members of the other side vehemently oppose this bill, and they are saying that this bill proposes increase in taxes for tires of even the wheelchairs, for tires of wheelbarrows, for tires of motor vehicles that are used locally by very many people, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I don't blame them. You know, reading is not very easy. This finance bill, the report that the chair budget and his team produced is voluminous, Honorable Speaker. And I'm not just blaming them, but because, you know, for you to read, you must be committed. So I challenge them to go down and read the report. And even if the chair of Finance and Economic Planning has proposed those changes that includes zero-rating tires, that includes zero-rating eggs, that includes, Honorable Speaker, zero-rating locally assembled motorcycles, I want to tell this House that we have all the powers to even propose similar proposals, so that by the time when we will be coming here on third reading, then if those proposals will not be put forward by the committee, then each one of us will have the powers to move ahead and come up with those committees, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill we have been grappling with the problem of unemployment in this country. There are very many factories in this country, Honorable Speaker. This bill is going to put a stop on people whom I can refer to them as conmen. These are industrialists who set up industries in this country, but they don't manufacture anything. They don't employ anybody. They just employ an accountant who processes things from foreign countries to come here and distribute them. That is why the Finance and Economic Planning Committee was intelligent enough to say, locally assembled. So even if you will import parts, you will bring in various parts, but there is evidence that you are assembling, that you require to employ a Kenyan to assist you in assembling, that you require to employ another Kenyan to assist you in cost estimation of those parts. Honorable Speaker, that is why I stand here today as a member of Parliament for Kimilili, exercising my constitutional powers and authority, that I have the powers to amend each and every section of this bill, Honorable Speaker. And being alive to the fact that the reason why the people of Kimilili brought me into this house is to ensure that the road from Rashid to Chepkwabi is tarmacked, Honorable Speaker. Is to ensure that we have a Huduma Center that is fully equipped and functional in the Kimilili constituency, Honorable Speaker. That I ensure I source for funds to tarmac the road from Maini to Kapsokon, Honorable Speaker. For those very reasons, Honorable Speaker, I stand here as a proud Kenyan, as a proud member of Parliament, supporting this bill, and I want to assure the Kenyans who are listening to me that if there is any section of this bill that is further punitive to them, I will bring amendment. You don't throw the baby in the bathwater. For my members of the opposition, Junaid Mohammed, you presided over a regime in the last Parliament that committed serious financial atrocities. You don't speak for Kenyans. The people who speak for Kenyans are the government, are myself. When you speak, the country bleeds. When I speak, the country listens. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I support.
Commissioner Macau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, Mr. Speaker, let me say I thank you for giving me this chance to voice my sentiment on this.
Where's Nzengu? What's your point of order and under what standing order?
I rise under standing order number 1.
It is not available to you. That is for the Speaker.
I just seek a guidance from you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Looking at the interest of members, I wanted to implore you to allow the cards not to be removed over lunch hour so that we can continue in the afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, Mark. So that you don't lose your slots. That is a fair request. And the house will be guarded by the sergeant, so if your cards are left in the slots, they'll be safe. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will restrain myself on the Finance Bill 2024. Mr. Speaker, I was very optimistic when I was going through this bill. Mr. Speaker, I had thought this government is going to redeem itself, given that the bill 2023, Kenyans underwent serious suffering, given that arose from the proceeds of the 2023 bill. Mr. Speaker, when I looked at this bill, I really wondered. Mr. Speaker, I'm listening to members saying that they come from sugar farming areas. Mr. Speaker, I come from an area where bread is the order of the day. Mr. Speaker, when you come to Mlolongo, when I looked at that bill, they did not define bread. They spoke of gluten and bread. Mr. Speaker, most of our hustlers, when you come to Mlolongo and Athi River, they trade on bread in terms of mandazi, in terms of samosas, and that kind of stuff. So, Mr. Speaker, when I saw this proposal of 16%, Mr. Speaker, being proposed, the bread to be subjected to VAT, it broke my heart. Mr. Speaker, as I stand in this house, when I looked at all these clauses, Mr. Speaker, I looked at clause 9, clause 25, clause 23, clause 35, clause 63, and clause 63. Mr. Speaker, these proposals, sometimes I wondered, really, they are advisors of the executive on matters of this bill. Mr. Speaker, when this government, on its manifesto, they say they're going to take care of the hustlers, the mamambogas, the bodabodas, but when I look at this proposal, Mr. Speaker, none of them was addressing the well-being of those hustlers. Today, Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, when I looked at the proposal on data protection, Mr. Speaker, that proposal wanted to amend the Data Protection Act. I think that is Cap 2114C. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind our colleagues on the other side that yesterday we had members whose accounts were frozen because the same act, the same data protection was misused, and members of the then Tanga accounts were frozen. Today, Mr. Speaker, when someone proposes that this data protection, our personal data should be given to KRI, Mr. Speaker, our government can come in place. And you never know. Your account, someone might say that you owe the government 100 million in taxes. Mr. Speaker, it's high time this House stood and said no to such proposals. Mr. Speaker, however, I have looked at the report. I know the Finance Committee have done something on it. And Mr. Speaker, we must be very careful. There is no way I'll sit here and understanding that a government must fund its budget. We must look at what is happening to the taxes that we are collecting and why are Kenyans not paying taxes. Mr. Speaker, I join speakers who say, let us loosen the tax bracket so that we tax Kenyans less, so that they will be encouraged to pay more taxes. And we are going to realize these monies that we want to finance the budget that we have. Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, I am also concerned about the proposal protecting some investors. Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency where all the cement factories are. It is true, there is only one supplier of billets. And Mr. Speaker, the way this bill was proposed, it was proposing a 17.5% tax. That means they were going to protect the monopoly of that investor so that no any other manufacturer will find place in the market. And I agree with members that this country needs industrialization. We cannot industrialize when we give one investor monopoly power to be the only person determining who is going to be in the steel industry. So, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I think this one was really going to kill the industry around here. So it also applies on the clinker. Mr. Speaker, clinker is an essential element in production of cement. If we tax this cement as proposed in the bill, I think that's 10%. It means even the affordable housing that we are talking about is not going to be possible. If this bill will address on clinker being zero rated, then it means the cost of cement is going to come down and the cost of building is going to come down. Mr. Speaker, the way it is, I don't see whether this bill is going to help Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, I stand here and I oppose it in totality. Let us come back. Mr. Speaker, you accept our amendments, and as a House, we look at them so that we neaten this bill so that it's going to benefit all Kenyans. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order, honorable members, you may be upstanding. Honorable members, it's now 1 p.m. The House stands adjourned until this afternoon, Wednesday, 19th, 2024, at 2:30 p.m.